community. We've got to establish robust maintenance and support frameworks to ensure longevity of the technology. And remember, as we said, part of this partnership is not to just develop and go. It's important that we hold UICT's hand together as stakeholders in making sure that the sustainability in this project. And technology changes every time. There's improvements, there's new version control. It's important that we are always there to make sure that systems inherent in this project run on the latest updates and the latest technology available. As I said, explore diverse funding models, including grants, partnerships, sponsorships, etc. So this is new technology. Significant investments will be required with time, but remember, with anything emerging, I mean, even with, if you remember back in the day, a computer would actually fill this room, and it was expensive. But with advancements in technology, things became cheaper and cheaper, and especially with augmented reality and virtual reality. With time, we'll start seeing some hardware equipment getting much more cheaper, and that will then allow us to basically procure more and reach areas that we wouldn't be able to reach. And lastly, engaging communities and showcasing impact. This project shouldn't just be a UICT project, Even the border drivers need to be able to know what is AVR. How can it even, because I mean, there is a use case for driving a scooter, You can actually, train drivers using virtual reality on road safety, on a whole lot of things. So this is not just an institution project. It's a community-based project. Even use cases are going to be use cases that solve community problems, that improve how communities, go on with their day-to-day activities. So it's important that engaging communities and showcasing impact is sustained at all times. So we need to make sure that we conduct interactive workshops, demonstrations, and exhibitions to build enthusiasm and support for AVR. I think people in this room and yesterday have had the benefit to understand what's AVR. We've spoke quite extensively about it, but we need to make sure that there is inclusivity in understanding what is it that UIC is trying to achieve with this. We also have to use real-life success stories to highlight the tangible benefits and inspire wide adoption, and then promote AVR as a transformative tool that empowers individuals and enhances community development. So so that's basically pretty much the best practices for implementing, the AVR project. And as I said, this is based on globally accepted best standards, and this is what we always do when we work on our digital transformation projects that involve AVR. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Yeah, they are 10. Very clear to understand, very easy to adopt. I don't know what about the implementation. I don't know what to talk about the implementation, but from my own understanding, it has been crispy, so clear. Thank you so much, Namba, and I think that's very, very important for us to understand. Okay, before we divulge into the questions, I want to invite Jacob here from the Ugandan perspective, from our own context. What are these experiences? And then I'll call, especially the faculty members, this is yours. I'm going to call you to ask a few questions, okay? Jacob, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, some of us look very tired. It's not a good look on us. So I invite us to be uplifted. Thank you very much for giving us your time. Thank you for my friend, Tabo, for the presentation. And yeah, my name is Jacob Mwesigwa, and I run Wally Visual. That is Wally Visual. In Luganda, you would say, Wally, you are there. It's a shame that they didn't see us. So, today I'll be presenting the best practices in teaching with virtual reality. But prior to that, I would like to introduce us as what we are and what we do. So, Wally Visual. Wally Visual is a practical edtech company that is focused on simulation in education. We simulate all practical exercises from hard skills such as engineering, architecture, software programming. In soft skills, we do a lot of public speech synthesis with an AI companion. And majority of this, our mode of expression or interaction usually revolves around using virtual reality or artificial intelligence. Some of our previous work includes a private government interaction where we tried to pilot the study in the use of virtual reality in the skills development in TVET education institutions. These were 7 across the country. That is including Hoima, Port Bell, then we also have Karamoja, we have Masindi. So it all goes around the understanding and trying to build a way towards understanding what virtual reality is and what it can do for us. So in this instance, we tried to understand how we can use virtual reality in making employable skills. So for example, this use case was the development of a factory simulator where you're trying to actually assemble a motorcycle as a training module before you actually go into into the factory itself. You try out building the motorcycle hand by hand, one in scale of 1 to 2, and it gets more hard the more you play. So it understands your faults and builds according to that. And then others include building simulators that help us understand the environment around us. That is from an architectural simulation to engineering simulation, where you're building systems that help you navigate the real world and try to communicate better on how these systems are working and how they could help you achieve an understanding of the environment you're with. This one was built in conjunction with Ministry of Works and Transport, where we are building a prototype that would simulate the Kampala Metropolitan whilst giving the public a means of access to pointing out areas where they do need help. For example, those who have seen the roads that have been flooding, this system is helping us understand where all this blockage is coming from, majority of which is coming from the Chambogo blockage over there. So this one was trying to help us understand how that is working. And then we go ahead to simulating how cars are being manufactured. So for example, this one is built in conjunction with Kira Motors, where we are trying to, of course, Kira Motors doesn't produce Benzes. This is just an example. There's proprietary things which we cannot share. But this is an example where we are trying to simulate the factory and how they are trying to portray and improve the systems that they are trying to do for the cars and the manufacturing industry in the country. And then with that, I work with a team, a Ugandan team, where we are mainly concerned with the introduction of these systems in our public schools and in our private institutions. My colleague, Lona, who is also our co-founder, is currently away right now, but we have our team facilitating the exercises. So before I go into exactly what we do, where do we sit? We're actually here at UICT, and we're on the Wall of Fame, and on your way out, you can just see our Wall of Fame, and you can see where we are. We've done a lot of trainings around virtual reality in the institutions, and we've been going to public and private institutions. We actually launched the Digital Transformation Roadmap last year, where we were interacting with the Vice President, if you've been to the Innovation Week, we were also doing a lot of expressions on how these systems are actually being done. So back to our best practices for the day. We want to understand how virtual reality and augmented reality can actually help our education system. This is not, our approach is from the student and teacher perspective. Working with teachers helps us understand how they actually communicate their lessons to the students and how the students receive that, that training. So the thing is, we've learned that teachers become students very quickly with virtual reality and augmented reality, because now the students are able to explore much faster than the teachers themselves. So our pathway is a collaborative process between the student and the teacher, where the teacher is giving the mentorship role and the tutorship role, where the student is doing the explorative role. We are gamifying education to the point that you are the one to explore what ends you need help on. So you discover what you need help on, and then your tutor, your teacher comes in and says, okay, this happens like this and this happens like this. So our understanding of the syllabus is that it should be an interactive process between the student and the teacher, where all sequential learning happens in a unified system where you are actually working with your friends in the same classroom. And this has led to the development of what we call self-paced learning systems. We are not, prior to our first pilot study, that was 2021, we were producing content out of the blue, where we were sitting in our offices and developing the content. But when we did the launch and the project, the pilot, we discovered that we might understand the technology, but in the end, we are designing for you, the student, for you, the teacher. So we are not the ones to tell you, aha, you come, you want to learn a motorcycle, this is this. No. We actually come at an angle of how do we help you learn better, learn faster. So a self-paced learning system helps you pace yourself. We have fast learners, we have slow learners. And in fast learners, they quickly go and finish their entire syllabus in one go. That is in one application. But then the slow learners actually appreciate it when the system that has been developed is actually helping them give hints that, okay, you did this, but what if you try this? And the systems that are working in the background, I don't want to call them AI because there's a borderline between you just using AI to propel your things, but it's not really AI, but it just looks like AI, that it is understanding where you're failing and helping you work on those failures. So from the front lines, what is our take in actually using VR and AR in classes? From the multiple activities we've done, defining the learning goals before you actually take a step ahead and say, okay, this is the go-to strategy that we're going to use. You need to have a clear understanding of the content you're going to use and the final goal. So the approach is that it's like you're coming from home to UICT. You know, I'm going to set off from home right here, let's say Chambogo, and I'm going to go to Nakawa. So you know your beginning step, but you also have the end goal in mind. Now, where does VR come into that process? It comes in to make the transition from Chambogo to Nakawa much easier and much more entertaining, so that you are actually involved in the items you're actually studying. So, for example, if you are trying to study, let's say, geography, and you're, let's use the Canadian prairies or those things that we studied in high school. Probably I've never gone there, but I'll go there like the PS. So you are trying to understand that how does the Canadian prairies actually look like? So that is your end goal. And then for you are in Uganda, you can't go to, your entire class can't go to the Canada, or where is the Canadian prairies actually? Wherever it is, Canadian prairies sounds like it is in Canada, but I'm hoping it's not in Canada. Okay, see? So Canadian prairies, that is not in Canada, is your final goal, and you're in Uganda. So how then do we take you to these prairies whilst you're in Uganda? So that's where we actually map out these prairies, understand what physical or geological features that would identify it as in the textbook, and then we take you there whilst you're in your classroom. Just a simple example. Then this can be replicated to any other lesson type, any other archetype. And then, why do we actually teach with VR and AR? Because this is first of all, it is a complex complex technology, yes. It requires a lot of computer programming, true. But it is also a very art-driven science, because if you've seen all the environments that we are making, let's say, for example, this one, it is all artificial, not artificially, artistically driven and drawn and made. So you're actually involving the arts to inform the science of how things are done, because art is the actual way you actually represent the real world around us. And we want to communicate that profoundly, that understand your real world environment, and then when you actually go into the virtual environment, it is not being too different or too new. You actually understand that. And then UX design. I will not go into details, but UX design is how you interact with the systems and the like. So, classroom examples. Why do we teach with VR? We are engaging the student in a gamified environment, trying to help the student actually enjoy their classes, while it's also building onto their curiosity that drives their innovation and self-paced driven skills acquisition. So starting from a baseline of how are we engaging the student to how do we keep the student engaged, because those are two different items. You can come to class, but it's a very different thing for you to actually study in class. And much as we are saying that this technology can be used from anywhere and everywhere, we also need to understand that just because you can attend class virtually doesn't mean you're actually learning. So much as we can get police the app and tell us this one is actually not doing anything, but we want to actually understand why are you not doing anything. So by engaging the student in their natural environment, we are able to understand that VR is going to be doing this, AR is going to be doing that. So classroom examples are very simple. The simplest I will give right now is geography. Geography helps us understand our country, our areas, but it is expensive to travel all around the country. So in our classroom example, we take the students to a virtual tourism center where we are able to portray all these items that we are talking about, just like prairies. And then it helps us understand that teachers, like I said, teachers quickly become students with this technology, not because they are slow learners, but because it is always changing. Now, this is where the student, actually, majority of the times we've seen, outpaces the teacher. Because as the teacher is trying to deliver the content, the student is already navigating the entire library of resources. So, by doing this, the teachers take on that mentorship role. They'll understand that the student is actually trying to navigate or build a system that is going to do this. So their input would be on a guiding mechanism to make sure they give them the best practices of doing said item and understanding their highs and lows. So, but then there comes a necessity and time to actually create an environment that actually enables learning. So, for example, you need to create a safe environment for the students. Yes, we are saying that you can study from your classes, but doesn't mean that we are eliminating the fact that there are students that are actually afraid of the technology themselves. So, by creating a safe environment, what do we mean? Some students are much more confident. They can come and do public speaking. Others are more reserved. So we do not want to exclude out every type of student. We want to actually be inclusive. How do we then create a safe learning environment? By considering all types of students and also engaging them to the level that they are coming at from. So this means that maybe you can employ methods like device sharing, where instead of giving every student a single device that you're going to be in this device, you actually create classroom groups that, you know what, one device, one laptop, one of you discover what VR is happening in VR as someone directs them on the laptop, which is something that, oh, I think I have it over here. So, for example, here, the teacher is actually showing what they are doing in VR. So this is the type of engagement where not everyone is actually wearing the headset. One person is having the headset whilst navigating the environment and showing what is being done. So this goes ahead to help everyone else who is involved in the class to understand what is being trained. It could be the hard skills, it could be the soft skills. So you engage them in how they arrive and how they are being taught. So that is safe environments. Then how do we measure learning outcomes? Exams. So yesterday someone was asking how, if we are using VR, we should also mark in VR. But those are things that we also don't understand yet. Like I said, like everyone is saying actually, this is a new technology. We do not understand its limits. We only see its limits, and then we build from there. But learning outcomes are very favorable if you're coming to them from an achievement level rather than a completion state. An achievement level is you're understanding how they have achieved certain goal, or have they arrived at UICT from Chambogo. So you're not looking at just coming from Chambogo to UICT. You're looking at the process at which they've come to actually be at UICT. Those that have come faster, you are try to see how they've done it and come faster. Those who have done it slower, you also look at them from that area of achievement, because one student can come to UICT very fast because they've used the border and there was traffic jam. The other has used an Uber, very expensive method to use. I don't know why you'd use an Uber in this traffic jam, but you've used an Uber, very expensive, and you've reached at UICT. Both students have arrived. And then there's this one who traveled much earlier. At 5 a.m. there was no car. They came to UICT much earlier, much faster. So an achievement level of assessment is more desired rather than a completion. Give them a test module in VR or AR and see if they've achieved it. But try to understand where they are coming from or how they are achieving said items. So there are so many different items and how you can use this, but the idea around this is to make sure you collect as much skill or knowledge from AR and VR without actually spending a lot of unnecessary resources. So adjusting and improving the implementation of these classrooms is a desired approach as well. Do the work and see how to improve it in the next lesson. And then, most importantly, we have to understand the definitions, because there are very many definitions out there. There's AR, there's VR, and there's mixed reality. But the entire encompassing state is that these are all just tools for you to use. They are not, We do not sell the technology, sell the value of the technology. So if you do a quick Google of these terms, you're able to understand them much faster, and they lead you to the results much faster. So again, this now, the best practices for this is by understanding how the technology works, you're able to improve it and use it better in your classroom. So for example, if we are saying think AR, think overlay. A lot of you use Snapchat. I was looking at the Snap map right today, and a lot of people here are using Snapchat. So that is augmented reality. All those filters that you're using to make you look good, beautiful, that's AR. So then we go to thinking MR and VR. So by understanding all these technologies and how they work, you actually try to understand how to engage the classroom. Which technology will you use and how will you use it? So for example, this is one of our classes in Hoima, the Hoima UTC. By understanding that these ones are more interested in vehicle manufacturing, we are able to now say, okay, versus using AR to overlay the digital assets here, how do we then create the factories that you're actually trying to learn from? And that's how we decided, you know what, let's use VR, because for it, it will take them completely to the areas they are going to study from. Whereas AR will keep them in their physical spaces, VR actually takes them to the place they want to be. And then it also informs which devices you're going to use. Which devices are you going to use? How are they helping the classroom navigate? So for example, by understanding what devices are and how they are able to be used in the classroom, you engage the student much faster. There are devices that require you to be connected to the PC because of the high level of graphics needed by the application. And then there are those that require you to be freehold. For example, on the left, is it left? Yes, left is the lady having a wireless device doing an exercise. And then on the right, requires you to be connected to the PC because it requires a lot of graphics processing. So by understanding what these devices are, you're able to also plan how to develop your classrooms around those devices and how they are being used. The advantage is this, the one that we launched yesterday meets all the requirements and is the best so far. So then it goes into the types of VR, because now we want to understand what VR is. By understanding what VR is and how it is being used, that's when you can actually start developing for it. Now, there's this VR where you're just looking around, you're not really moving, and then there's the one where you're actually moving. So, for example, this one is where you're moving through the environment. This one is where you're moving through the environment, and then this one is you're just moving your head, you're not actually moving around. So by understanding what those kinds of applications are, then you can actually develop that content relevant to that system of teaching. This is the one. So this one you're able to move around, up, down, left, right, forward, back. Then the previous one is you're only moving your head, just like I tried to illustrate here. Okay, and then it goes on to understanding the history of these devices. Now, some of us will understand that these are very expensive devices. And so every resource that we pour into getting this device must be calculated enough to understand what the future is holding for us. So for example, just some time ago, 2015, the first VR headset we had was just a card box. You just put in your phone and you're able to move around. But now we've gone ahead to having devices like we have in our hub that we launched yesterday, where you actually are free to navigate. But then these devices reach an end of life. So you keep on buying new ones because the technology has improved, like that, just like how Tabo was sharing. There's continuous assessment and improvement. An application deserves an update, so you have to go back and develop an update for that. So it's honestly it's a very it's a non-ending activity. You're not going to produce one application and you think that's going to solve all your problems. It keeps on evolving, evolving, evolving. In fact, just this morning they launched a new system. Now our team has to go and relearn it, and I'm sure also Tabo will also have to go and relearn that entire system. Not because we can't use it, but because we have to look at how we can use these systems in our applications. So, okay. So, I'll skip through this. There's the TV. Now these are different use cases on how you can engage students in classes, sports analysis, furniture and commercial use, and then trying to learn musical instruments, then actually assembling and manufacturing cars at different levels. So what does this mean? This means that you are not only just teaching with the technology, but you're building a gap to which they'll actually use the technology when they start working. Because you've taught them how to do things in virtual reality. Now, how are they going to actually start working in what? When they graduate. Because now employers, you also have to engage employers that, you know what, these students learned using this technology. So a go-to strategy would be to also start using this technology, because now they are coming with a skill that is new, so you also have to upgrade. So by identifying and linking different aspects of the technology to how they actually be going to be used, that's when you actually score a board and say, you know what, this is the best approach that we are going to use. So in training, sales, and edutainment, where you're using training, like UICT is going to be doing, then in sales, how are you selling items via AR and VR, and then entertainment, creating games, maybe having, those of you who like going out, you've seen probably some of us doing activations for virtual reality. You can go on TikTok and you see how people keep punching us when we are at these events. That is the VR guy on TikTok. So, then commercial methods. This is now the concluding slide. By identifying the path to which you're trying to develop for, you are able to understand where you're going and what best method you're going to use. You do not need to buy 1,000 headsets because you have 1,000 students. You need to figure out how to use 10 headsets amongst 1,000 students. So by identifying these problems and utilizing how you're doing them, you can able to assemble the best methods either in VR or AR or mixed reality that you have observed, and then you can design a lesson, a module that speaks to it. So with that, I hope I've not bored you enough that there's anyone dozing. I'm fortunate enough I've not seen anyone dozing. So tops up. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening.
Another round of applause for Jacob. Yes, very exciting presentations there. We are going to have some questions, and I'm going to prioritize the faculty, our faculty here, but even members who are in the audience and their teachers, because this is very, very important. And I know there are questions that are going to come through, and they require answers from our supervisors. And I'm going to kindly request our academic registrar to come and join us kindly. I'm kindly requesting, because I'm pretty sure that there are questions that are going to come through, and they need your answers. So thank you, AR, for accepting to join us this side. Yes, the mics are ready. I have some questions, but they will come last. And our members specifically, because we want to start. That's the point. That's why Royal Makrad is here. That's why Ewal is here. That's why everybody is here. We want to what? To start. Okay? So, yes, take the microphone the other side, and I want questions from our members of staff. The members to this group this side. Maybe you'll start from the head of department.
Thank you very much. Mine is not a question, but still looking forward to how we're going to integrate the pedagogical aspects with this technology. And I think in this case, I don't know whether I should ask Joseph. We shall, because first of all, I must acknowledge that my members of staff, most of them are not from an educational, as a trained teachers. Some of us actually, I think majority of us are teaching out of our professional backgrounds, especially ICT and the engineering background. So we have not actually had that teacher training where we could actually benefit from those pedagogical approaches to delivery. So I'm looking forward to how we are going to actually organize this AVR content in terms of curriculum alignment that will be inclusive of the pedagogical aspects. It's not a question, but that's what I'm looking forward to. I thank you.
Thank you. You can take to Mr. Msingu's Ivan, but as you take it, I want to have Flavia, because Thabo here and Jacob mentioned about the equipment. Flavia, is she around? Our IT lead on the PIT team. Flavia, is she around? She has stepped out. Oh. Flavia, if anybody can reach out to Flavia, we need her here to assist us on a few things, because I'm very sure there are some few questions that are going to come through. Yes, Ivan.
Thank you, Moses. I think this one goes to AR. It's not a question, but it's a concern. Yesterday it was launched. We have been listening. There has to be continuity. We have 700 licenses which are not for education, 5,000 for education. So my concern is that lab, will it be enough? Don't we need to come behind here and we construct a two-storied building for AVR? So that guys can come, you give them the licenses, they do their work there from the other industries, as we concentrate on these guys of ours in the other side of the lab. Then to you, sir, in a blue coat. I've seen your classes around 8 people, 10 people. We deal with 85 people, 100 people sometimes, all that. How long would it take to plan for that? Or because everybody would want to see or have a feel. How long can it take? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll take 3, and then they'll answer, and then take another one. There's somebody in charge of research in among the faculty members. I can see him there. Please give him the mic, Mr. Lutwara.
Thank you so much. Actually, I've been wondering how AR can help us translate academic to innovative? How can we use AVR to do more innovative research beyond just academic? How can we integrate these technologies in research and innovation?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll start with the AR. The first question went to you. Was it? Yes, the one for head of department was just a comment. The first question was from Ivan, and he was wondering whether you have plans of putting up a storage building somewhere. Please.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad we are back. For the question that he asked, yesterday we had a whole journey on the what, why, and when, which caused the launch. And part of the conversation, a big part of the conversation was on the virtual ability of this technology. And we had a whole explanation about how this lab will be available virtually to everybody, everywhere else minus the physical location. So to the dear lecturer, what the technology is helping us do is solve that problem where we definitely don't have enough resource to keep building. We identify behind the hub, we construct. Soon then we may want to go in heaven and we don't seem to have the abilities. So we are engaging these technologies because we can avail them remotely. You can do everything he's been doing away from this site. And we also had an opportunity to listen to McGrady as they explained, one of their pieces of work, which was solving the problem of connectivity, because we had questions about leaving no one behind. And actually that question came from a discussion again where we were recognizing that the digital citizens among us, actually the summary was that the digital immigrants of us, who are the decision makers in the digital space, are delaying the digital citizens who seem to be, auto-digital as soon as they are born and things like that. So I hope I have answered. So the task now is that scale to ensure that we leverage on the ability, the virtual ability of the technology, while taking care of problems like power, like connectivity. And Mark Grady, briefly, I expected someone to ask, but I think people were tired, Tabo, about the DigiLab, because I gave you a whole day on the DigiLab when I met you. The DigiLab utilizes solar power. It doesn't suffer from the limitations. It can go really deep there. So all you have to do is to set up to have proper maintenance. And then you have in there the gadgets that are limiting on the need for connectivity. They also discussed the issue of zero rating. When you have set up for the connectivity, the cost is this side on government, and the other user simply gets on to use. So I think that with an outfit like that, we don't need to go around building, because what everybody in the room yesterday, today, and another day and elsewhere agrees upon is we just don't have the resources. That's why the labs are not enough already. So if we pretend to build and yet even the physical labs we need right now for STEMI are not enough, we wouldn't have solved the problem. Is the research also for me? I know you will be back, so let me finish. And then the other honorable lecturer is asking about how this can be used for research. Again, we had an interesting conversation that was feeding off the theme, because you realize the theme ends in a knowledge-based economy. So one thing the technology really helps us to do, it sends us back to focus on the asset that doesn't deplete, is very easy to distribute, scales, and that is knowledge. So if you look at it in this, in the economic sense, and you look at it against the natural resources, you know, it's forever there for you. So what the technology helps us to do is to move attention to knowledge. We had, you know, the educators, the education specialists from Chambogo explaining to us a few things about how learning happens and the important things that I don't quite understand. I only now know a bit about cognitive, affective, love. They described interesting things here. So what they are really telling you is that now there is all the time to immerse on knowledge. Its creation again, its distribution, you know, and its use. And once you are doing that, there's no limit on innovation, because the part you are touching the most of the human is imagination. And once you are giving all the time, you know, and space and enabler driver to imagination, you will be sure that you are good to go with research. So it does the very important job of focusing whoever is utilizing it on knowledge and imagination, and therefore spurs innovation. And once you support innovation, I think R&D is good to go.
Thank you, Ara, for that submission. A round of applause. I'll go Jacob, and then Tabo will come in.
Hello? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again. So, I'd like to consider myself a practical guy, because over the years we've learned that we'll keep on talking technology, keep on talking future of work, but in the end of the day, you have to discuss these technologies like you are talking to someone who's not a developer. That's a challenge we've approached, because we are trying to tell you all these things that the tech can do, but in the end of the day, we have to now talk like we are telling the end user. So for the question for research and classroom sizes, we want, just like how we are about 100 in this room, if we were to say that we are going to share a virtual reality experience with you about, let's say, virtual tourism. At the current state of our laboratory right now, it's out of capacity to handle 100 people. And in your classes where you're handling 85 students and above, so it becomes still unequally impossibility to have 100 headsets to give to each and every student. That's why our approach to facilitating classes in VR is a sharing experience, where you're not focusing on just having a device for every student, but deriving the outcome for each student. Because now you are trying to engage each student in a way that they can understand, but also building on their knowledge. So how is this done? It is done by, one, you have a device ratio of 1 to 7. For one device, you're sharing with 7 students. You create a cluster. So for example, we've cut out this section and given you 2 devices. Then the next section, 2 devices, each with a laptop or screen. So for example, you have the screen that is projecting what the student is doing, and then the colleagues who are telling them, okay, now you try doing this, try doing that. Now, both students are participating, even though one person is in VR and the other isn't. They are still able to participate, that this one is seeing what the other one is doing, and the other one in the virtual reality scene is actually now participating with their students by telling them, you know what, okay, if I do this, it fails. And they are also instructing him. Similarly, they will learn from that, so when they actually also get the device, they will know that he tried to do this, and he failed, so I'll just pick on from there. So it's a shared experience. But then there's also the thing about, now it becomes technical, where almost Tabo might be the one understanding it, where you're now putting 2 people in the same virtual reality experience, even if they are not in the same room. So you are teaching students across the country, but they are in the same room at the same time. Think of it like Zoom. Like Zoom for VR, where you are participating 1,000 students, but you're also using the same network. So someone can be on their desktop or mobile phone or in VR. So it's cross-platform. You can do it in VR, you can do it on your phone or on your laptop. So you're all sharing the same experience. And then how long does it take? It takes as long as practical exercises take. I cannot put a cap of time to how long it will take for you to actually learn how to manufacture a computer, like some of the applications Madame Flavia has in her laboratory currently. So, for example, Flavia is trying to show people how to assemble a CPU, but not everyone is going to understand it at the same pace. It goes back to the slow student or fast student. A time cap on how long a training you will take will only be defined by how fast your students learn or how well you are equipping them to learn. Then connectivity approaches in terms of how do we improve connectivity. Again, it will be, since now the biggest challenge we have in Uganda is internet. Yeah, some of us have relied on Laika Mobile to help us have better internet, other than using some other providers that I will not mention for obvious reasons. So the connectivity issue is such a big challenge that we have to now define ways to overcome them. One is maybe getting Elon Musk's satellite connectivity might be the solution people think, but also building packages that can be distributed offline. You're not only working online. Yes, I sound very opposite for what we are trying to say, that everything is online. But we also have to live in the current state we are in. Not everything can be done online. Some things have to be done offline. So creating offline packages that can be distributed offline are one of the best ways that we can deliver our system. So for example, for our students in Moroto, we actually have to train the teachers to do these things without us being there, because it becomes a logistical nightmare to always send experts outside into the field, and UICT is targeting the entire country. So sending out experts every after an update will be next to impossible. However, by teaching your trainers to work around these challenges, you're able to send offline packages that can be distributed to the devices individually. And then this can still work. That is for the connectivity. And then for research, again, I want to be practical in this. I'm not going to talk about, our AR has talked about how the knowledge is used in portraying the imagination. Now, for the researcher themselves, the solution that you are actually looking for is, how is VR helping me carry out my research? And I'll go to our recent project with Chambogo University. It is on, it's for the architecture school. So what the architects in Chambogo are doing, they are trying to understand how to interact with the built environment. So then how do they improve their research? By identifying what approaches they need, what the problem is and how it can be solved, then VR can come in. Again, you're coming from an area of solving a problem, not using the technology because it can do it. But you're looking at the problem and seeing how to deliver. So for example, the best example I can give offhand is an architectural research project. The architectural research project, the approach to it would be, if it is a building simulation, you want to understand how hot this building is. I don't know if everyone here is feeling as hot as I am, but the heat in this room can be actually measured. So how do you measure heat? By using maybe IoT devices, temperature sensors, things like that. And then how do you illustrate how these systems are working? By, in virtual reality, you can be able to simulate the travel of heat from one side to another. So in architecture, we have something we call dead zones and live zones. So in dead zones, you can visualize them and say, this place would be having a lot of heat. So if we put we even have air conditioning over here. So that wouldn't be the spot for it. This can be the spot for it. So in VR, and its approach to utilizing your research is that identify your problem you're trying to research and see how it can be illustrated or utilized in VR. The solution is not really, you might find may not be just the technology, but you might find other unforeseen circumstances. For example, the heat in here might be due to the lighting system because the sun is coming in. Now in VR you can be able to see that the sun is cutting through here. So you found a problem because a problem that the sun is not coming directly because you've simulated the sun in. For you, at first you just wanted to see how heat travels in. But because you've simulated and seen the sun is coming through here, and you're seeing that it's the one that is shining on people over here, giving them sun-kissed skin, it shows you that there's other problems you're solving. So with that, I hope to submit.
Thank you, Jacob. Thabo, please, what's your take on the questions? And then I'll take another round of questions, and we shall close this, and then we shall try to get our hands that how do we start, okay? So let us close this. Then in the last session, we shall see how do we start, because, I mean, you have shared the best practices and so on and so forth. Now, where do we start from? Thabo, your take on the questions.
Have this.
Thank you so much. I think I'll first start off with the classroom question that was raised. I think when I discussed the best practices, I did indicate that part of what's going to be happening in this project is continuous improvement and continuous updates. Technology doesn't stay rigid. It literally changes with time. So again, to address the issue of capacity, we know this things like the metaverse, where learners can actually attend classes from different spaces, but they find themselves from a metaverse perspective. They find themselves in one space. So we've been doing quite a lot of research in that space, and then moving forward, these are things that we're going to start working closely with together with UICT to make sure that we are able to actually address all challenges that might be inhibiting the full adoption and continuity of this project. And then going on to I think connectivity, right? Connectivity is the biggest barrier of technology. We can speak about all these systems, all these e-learning platforms. If you don't have access to the internet, then it's just a futile exercise. But it doesn't really end it there, right? We've been working tirelessly also from our side on developing a whole lot of IoT, a whole lot of devices sure that we can bypass the need for the internet. For instance, with our STEM period platform, we realized that it's such a beautiful platform. It has all the necessary content that can help a learner achieve quite outstanding grades. But the problem is that the device carry the cost of data. Browsing through the content is more expensive than the subscription to the platform itself. But that necessitated us to build, using Raspberry Pi and IoT devices. We've built a device that allows, it works like a Wi-Fi. It allows learners to gain access. If you're within a proximity, it allows you to gain access to the content without requiring, the internet. And then all the updates always happen offline. If there's updates to content, if there's new things that we need to add, assessments, that is actually done at our office, because we've come to realize that, because of because of how expensive data is, this can actually be, one of the biggest barriers to access for students. And yes, there's quite a lot of ways that we currently working on in terms of making sure that there's accessibility, and as AR has indicated, we want that this project becomes inclusive, which means that even communities that are remote should also be able to benefit from advancements in technologies, and internet access is going to be quite paramount there. So we've been, as I said, we've been exploring quite a number of ways to make sure that we can attain. We can attain inclusivity, and so we'll continue to to look at various ways. There are options out there that can allow us to have affordable access to the internet, so that everyone is basically covered. And in terms of VR research, there's quite endless applications of VR from a research perspective. If you look at what we also presented yesterday, which was in the digital physics and chemistry lab, you're able to basically do experimental typing. So you're actually able to simulate experimentation and prototyping in your research process. Data visualization, behavioral and psychological studies. So there's quite a lot of endless use cases when it comes to applying VR in research. I think that's it from our side.
Okay, thank you so much. Tambo, I'm going to take another round. Please speak, hurry up. You take the other gentleman. Ivan, I'll first take these two. And then shall actors.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Eugene Tukey Oluport. I happen to be a founder as well at the Hub, and I'll go straight to the point. We happen to be doing something in the similar field of VR, but for those that may not be aware, looking at, for those that understand what Google Maps is, and you look at Google Street View maps, that same concept is what we chose to use as how to approach VR. So from the side of a student, I want to ask, in case a student has something they have to share in the field of VR that can probably help them beyond studying. Say someone has decided to create VR stores for people in terms of, or has decided to create a platform that sells property using VR as a technology. Is there a way they can partner probably with the UICT, or also what would the requirements be? And then what costs is government willing to cover in case someone is to choose to use you as a shoulder to lean on? And yeah, I think that's submit.
AR, you'll take up that. AR will take up that. Maybe you can, Ivan, just briefly, such that it doesn't come back that side. He comes here.
Thank you, Moses, again. Madam AR, still this is to you. With all due respect, we are targeting the whole country, isn't it? I'm looking at this hub here. TISA is the only club there which doesn't have Wi-Fi. Every other organization up there has Wi-Fi. But they are in a physical what? They are in a physical environment like this one. So connectivity to me, what they have said is not convincing enough. But what if we, in time, you said there should be continuity. In time, there are going to be competitions in AR and VR among students, amongst everybody. Shall we still do we still have the hub to use? Because still, if they want to present whatever they want to present, these guys, they all bring them here. So to me, if we are to start this, let us start big. At least, let's start big. That room is small for us.
Okay.
Target the whole country. Thank you.
AR, I will still carry the burdens of UICT, so that still goes to you. Naftali, let me take these two visitors, and then we shall take you. Yes.
Sorry for forcing you to pick me, because I know it's time for Juma prayers. I want to start where he has ended, in line with connectivity. I slightly disagree with him because I think he's only looking at this institution. But if you look at the reality, now I'm talking from the perspective, mentioned who I am. I'm Uyabu Baker from Haji, Ministry of Education and Sports. I want to say I was not part of the initial process, but now I'm here. But I want to start where he stopped, when he talked about connectivity. I think in reality, connectivity is critical, like he mentioned. Look at our environment, the schools, for example. Even where you have the backbone, they still have issues. So many things that go with that. Cost, issues of the quality of service. Now, if you talk about your virtual reality or whatever you're talking about, without that, then you have a problem. So before we go ahead, then we need maybe to trust service providers. How best can they help that environment, really, in terms of either cost, zero rating, some of these applications, whatever it is, I don't know. They can do that. So it was very important. The other one you talked about, which is very good, but again also requires connectivity, is talked about the micro cloud. Yes, good, you can have it in class and then be able to download the content without you having internet. But when you need the updates, you need the internet. There's no way you're going to tell me, because I have a micro cloud, that is it. They ain't end there, because maybe what you're doing now in terms of content has changed. So then you need to connect and have those changes. Now that is taboo. So really connectivity. When you're explaining best practice, I think what ARS people need to know, how did you walk the journey, the actual walking through the journey? That's what they want to know. The phases, you're talking about eating your cow, and, you know? Yes, they also want to know exactly how do they start with the first piece of meat now? That's the question. Because just building, that's not enough. So they want to look at that. That's very critical. The other one that I think that they need to know is, that they didn't mention, I have these different texts. How do I go to class to teach? I'm teaching electronics. How do I get to this? My learners get this. Not necessarily developing the actual application that I'm going to use, but how do I deliver? Some of them will deal with that, but others will, how do I deliver my lecture? Jacob, now this is yours. Jacob, when you talk about that, that's very interesting, the learners enjoying. But again, you put it in three perspectives. I don't know whether you noted that. You have the educator, who's the teacher, the learner, and the actual process of teaching and learning. From your view, mainly you concentrated on the learners and the educators, not the actual teaching and learning process. For example, this is the guys who deal with the content. I have my content. I want to use VR to teach a certain physics concept. Now, go back to what he said. In the entire process, one of the things that I have noted that is happening here is ignoring the pedagogy and the instructional designers. In technology, you should have these designers. As you're designing something for the learners to use, certain things that you must do in terms of pedagogy, using maybe the instructional designer to change that other process to be on the other side of the learner. Not as a developer now. Now you're looking at the learner on the other end, whether the learner is at the university or at the lower level. That is very important. But now, in his presentation, focusing on, for some of the teachers in here now, lecturers in here, they want to find out, using your virtual reality, how do they look at their curriculum and then be able to structure that out and then use it to teach? And when you talk about self-learning environment, the education space must be very careful. I think what you're explaining was inclusivity, talking about the slow learners, the fast learners, those that don't really see well and the like, inclusivity. But safety in the education space may even mean where you're sitting, may mean the washrooms, may mean when you walk in, you're dressing. That's all about safety. Because if you walk in and some of our learners and the way you present yourself, that's also part of the safety. And deter them from learning. So when you talk about safety, it's all about inclusivity. In other words, what we present was inclusivity. And the other one I want to talk about is you talked about learning outcome. Okay, I want to use simple terms. What is this learner, what is he able to do at the end of what he has gone through? That's the most important. If you look at the case of what he was presenting in technical institutions, yes, there's a virtual reality of somebody trying to fix a tire. But in reality, we want to see this person going to fix the tire. Otherwise, if you're going to have people who are really virtual to that extent, then even fixing that tire might be a problem. After that virtual engagement, really, then must go and do the actual fixing of the tire. Yes, because of the resources, you're not going to do it several times. So virtual reality comes in to help you. You can do it,
Over and over.
the virtual space 10 times, but you do it physically once or 2 times. See that you can basically do it. The last one that you're not talking about, yes, we have all this. The question I have, after virtual reality kind of maybe tool or gadget, whatever it is, what happens to the e-waste? I'm not talking about the e-waste. Simply saying, yes, this is very good, and we are ignoring. The question is, how is this device, or how is this instrument, how is it affecting the rest? That's what we're ignoring. If I'm using it here, what does it do to the brain? Yes, I might be learning. Haven't you seen, if you go to, let's say, Singapore, because of the gadgets that they use, you find almost everyone is putting on spec. Almost everyone. And as they're moving on their cell phones. That's really affecting them in terms of vision, in terms of the move, in terms of so many other things. So as we are doing all this, how do we place that? I don't know how you're doing that. I don't know who will answer that there, but I think those were my questions. So I want to give maybe this man and the assessor to give us his question.
Thank you so much, Haji. A round of applause for Haji. Has really given us a mouthful. and it's for our own benefit, not so. So the team here will respond, but for me that's very, very good guidance, and we appreciate. Yes, Mr. Tebakan, please.
Just comments I'm giving and summary maybe of what is leaving out. The Ugandan education system is so much allied to the competency-based frameworks, and all curricula that are developed for ECC, somebody was asking yesterday, there is a process going on developing curricula for ECCE, and then primary, then lower secondary, and then upper secondary. We don't know, the university people, Mr. Golova maybe will say something. We want them also allied to, or align themselves to that framework. Why? Because it is training people to do rather than to remember and write or say out. So the whole discussion here has been talking about content creators, and Haj has just emphasized something here. That instead of so much looking at just mere content creators, we should be, in the educational spaces, we should be looking at instructional designers more. Why? These are the people who will think about what will take place in the processing logic of the learner while they do the learning. Then align the content towards that process. I don't want to use the keyword we use, the educationists, but it's that. And then they've been so much talking about the domains of learning, that education or any learning should tackle the heart, the brain, and the hand. Psychomotor, the domain, and the cognitive, etc. they've been mentioning. For us, at the curriculum, we are so much simplifying this and saying that any learning should train someone how to be, how to do, and know how. I repeat, how to be, how to do, and know how. And so that is very critical. All this content we shall be creating will require us to include things like the soft skills we are talking about. How do we include them into the content? The morals, the values, the cross-cutting issues he has just asked us about, the effect of these technologies on our minds and then the environment. All these come into the equation. And so for us, we would like to see that when we go to train the lecturers or whoever we shall be training, for us we call it the pedagogy of integration. We integrate the content and all these things together and produce what we want. And so Jacob, while you mentioned something to do with assessment, assessment will not wait at the end of the learning. Even the content you create within it, we must see assessment. And since you mentioned it carefully, and you say that there is no separation between the learner and the teacher, even with the technology in place, then it is very important that we learn how to do this. Not in one way or the other that each of these items are working in isolation. But maybe this is a big comment that we should keep at the back of our mind. But as we talk about inclusivity, equity is related to it. Equity. So when we talk about issues of connectivity, I think we are bringing it in there. And because this is an AI intervention, we would like to see the principles of responsible AI utilization brought into the equation. I know this is a new paradigm, but it must be in the equation if we are to be on the standards. Responsible AI, explainability issues, accountability issues, fairness, bias, and etc. They should be in this equation. From the time we develop, at the time of development of the platform, the content, and the way we are going to use it. And so, there we shall be shooting in very good goals of the Society 0.5 paradigm that the AR talked about, that we should not leave anyone behind. I submit.
Thank you so much.
Maybe before you go on, I wanted to say some very last thing to say about this whole thing. When it comes to teaching and learning, and you're using technology, the question is, when do you apply it? Are you doing an assessment of these learners to understand what they're doing or where they are in terms of knowledge? Are you trying to make sure you're assessing them at the end of it all? Or are you in the process? Those are critical areas that you really to understand when you're developing anything. Because depending on where you want to stand, the whole thing will be different. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Naftali there, where was Naftali? But maybe before Naftali, I think the questions are too many. Let us first take this round, and then I'll give some more 2 chances because this is very vital and pertinent. And I'll start with the AR. Please touch some few questions, and then after the other colleagues will join in there.
Thank you. Still very low. May have to exchange this with another one. Thank you, moderator. I'm very, very happy that we are actually getting what we intended to get the interaction with our key stakeholders. Not all of them are here with us, but to get that very important interaction with our stakeholders as we start to walk the journey, because indeed we are at the beginning, but more so to get the feedback to guide us. Yesterday we mentioned that we are really taking a co-creating approach. I shouldn't, moderator, you should have done things having seen that Haj is here, because I really, really needed him, but you interfered with his Juma prayers, so you are to blame. But I'm happy I still have all others of our stakeholders, especially from the Ministry of Education and then UCC. So this helps us to shape the journey forward. I've taken note of all the aspects from Haji, from our lead from NCDC. Just to mention, he's hand-holding us in a number of endeavors. He's hand-holding us in another project, the Uganda-Japan Connect project. And we are very, very grateful that at each stage he tells us, stop, take care of the issues around learning and the science or art of it. Now move, now stop. So we are very, very grateful for that. I will start with the issue of, Ivan brought back connectivity and localized it. In the room, I wouldn't have wanted to go to the specifics of the National ICT Innovation Hub, because then he starts to mention how our students have a dedicated space in the hub. That's a whole other story, maybe not for today. But in that line, of course, I recognize that communication happens on the terms of the listener. If the listener says, me, I have heard you may not have much to change. The people in those arts, and yesterday Doctor was emphasizing, no, these psychological things, and those things I never went to school to do. So it's different at the hub now, I guess everybody in the room who didn't have any specific appointment to connect has connected and is working. So I'll leave it at that. Connectivity, once people are in the environment of the hub, is really available for everyone. But I will mostly move to the founder. Let me help our audience to understand that introduction of his. In the ecosystem of the National ICT Innovation Hub, we host innovators at different stages of the innovation life cycle, which I won't go much into. The purpose is that they come in, they utilize the facility to advance their innovations, but then there should be a time when they are mature and safe in the market, and we see them off, and other Ugandans come, and the system goes and goes and goes. So when he calls himself a founder, he's an innovator at a certain stage of the innovation pipeline in at the National ICT Innovation Hub. He's asking if a student, and I liked the angle of the student, because yesterday we said we are co-creating. So we are taking the approach of moving with the student and the teacher. I definitely not at the same level, but performing different roles in parallel, so that what we create is benefiting from the knowledge that's available in each angle at the same time. And he's now saying if a student has created something or wants to create something, of course, I had him again leave that a bit, and I think he was also talking about outsiders in the end. How do they get with us, to work with us, and therefore benefit from this? There's quite a number of arrangements and paths. For some of that, so I'll give a hint, and I'll end by saying, please contact us, and then we place you in the right category at bucket, and we should be able to assist you to find a way to work with us. Bucket one is for you to qualify to join the ecosystem at the National ICT Innovation Hub. It's available, it's open to the public, so you can apply, you are assessed, and you have that very important conversation of what you want to do with the hub. That's model one. Model two, you are our student in our classroom, and we use the framework we've set up within the project to support you, to handhold you. Yesterday, for those of you who were here online, saw what the student was doing in the lab. That student has produced a few things that are his own, and there's a lot of aspects in there, including his intellectual property, and we have all the instruments to handle that. So that can be route number two. You are a UICT student. Contact the project manager, who is the head of department, ICT and engineering, and they walk you that journey. But you could be a private entity that we can partner with, PPP, public-private partnership. The laws are in place. We go through all the processes and all the structures. I don't want to talk about the bureaucracy. Sometimes it scares people, but that is, we do it in such a way that through our business development center, which is caretaken by the gentleman at the front here. I think I would love him to stand and face the other side for a minute as I speak. He's called Mr. Bwire Francis. So dear founder, he is available under the business development center, and then he checks on how we can work with you. Are you public-private partnership? Are you already another government entity? So we just need an agreement, a local institutional agreement to work with you, and we see how to support. He asked how much government is willing to put in. I don't think anybody in government can say, I know. So the answer there is I don't know. And through those different models, then we would discuss and even get to who puts in which resource and which resource is available or not. Because sometimes you approach us in these different categories. You know very well at the National ICT Innovation Hub, government is providing you certain things. So when you come here, they will tell you, you know, the Wi-Fi is here, the office space is here. Maybe here you have to discount and pay, you know, a small fee that's not the market rate. So the answer there would really be, I don't know. Haji somewhere got to health and safety.
That point, Dr. Goloba here had raised some issues to do with the stakeholders. And I think it's very, very important because the project manager clearly said that this is a national project. And my own understanding is we should be intentionally reaching out to these people. You get it? And you have guided well, but content developers from other universities, from other, because already universities have students and they're developing content, they have staff and they are interested. So how do we quickly reach out to these other stakeholders away from, because Makerere is here, Chambo goes here, and those can basically give us some quick wins, and you know, we proceed because they can, you know, in any way they can even guide us on how to move very fast.
Thank you, Moses. I had started to specifically attend to him and then I move. But what you mentioned then takes us to the next plan. You know, first of all, we had to say, look, here we are, this is what is available. We would like you to pick interest in it. And I'm very excited that Ministry of Education is here. The different entities, education entities are here. National Council of Higher Education is here. NCDC is here. The universities are here. And yesterday I mentioned that the universities are not just here as academia, but the players in the education space that we feel we should meet, you know, that we should work with for this to happen. So by doing this in the first place, we are saying, look, you are welcome. You are our critical, you know,
partners.
Yeah, the word buddies is stuck on my tongue, but I'm looking for the formal one to work with. Though the reason I end up saying buddy is to bring the environment down and say, look, you are actually the ones who know more on what we should be pulling out than us. But here we are with a tool to pull it off. Please come and join us. So once we are done with this, I'm very sure when I call National Council by Tuesday and say, hey, look, now we are coming to you to speak to your executive, she will immediately, it will be a natural reaction for her to get off her seat, you know, and walk to whoever it is so that I can get audience.
Thank you.
So that's very critical that you're mentioning. And to Haji and the curriculum specialist, we are very cognizant that we only stop in a small space, the ICT corner, and we know that we have to pick up these curriculum specialists, the instructional designers. By yesterday, I think you had the certified ones. You had about 5 in the room, like certified instructional designers up to PhD level and up to other international levels. So what the message we are really sending out is, dear people, this is a national project. Don't be left behind. We are coming for you, but as we come for you, please be interested in the story we are bringing. And now that would have taken me to another question, but You have made also the UCC lady, you keep doing these things. But let me touch a bit. She talked about health and safety. This is something that has come out even in the smaller conversations. It came out very blown out with our students, and I was so happy that that is where they are in the thinking space. And they really brought it to us. You know, they kept asking things like, how do we utilize this and we don't get addicted? We fear the addictions, you know, that may come with it. We fear the lifestyle changes, and there's now a whole arrangement on the project to just deal with health and safety. But he also ended up in the E-West place, and there's a national endeavor. Even my boss at the Ministry of ICT has also. So at the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, there is an endeavor on the E-West policy. There's a whole lot of work that has gone on. It is not complete, so you do not have, part of it is out, but there's still a whole lot of journey. And what I know is the latest are the E-West guidelines, mostly driven by UCC. And there's a whole unit at UCC, from what I know, that is dealing even with the physical space to deal with this E-West. So yes, it's a national conversation. It's going on. It's being sped up. Of late, it has been sponsored by the internet. Part of that work, the policy, the guidelines, where the work around it was sponsored by the International Telecommunications Union. So that is something that will be out by the end of December. So the conversation on E-West is up. It's real. Government has put in some resources. Development partners have come on board. And soon we should have a law cast in stone. But in the context of what UICT is doing under this ARVR, because we are managed and operated by UCC, as we move, we check on them. For instance, part of the requirements for that lab to be authorized, also by UCC, was that we've checked how we are going to manage these technologies change. Like they've said, you are replacing gadgets, you are destroying some, and so on and so forth. How is that E-West going to be managed? So I thought to handle those, and then you may send me, I'm still at your service. Others.
Thank you so much, Ara. I'm particularly very glad about being very, very clear, because I was touched by Dr. Golova's submission, but now it's very, very clear. I want Jacob to handle the issue of the process, because Haj was very particular about that. If you can help us handle that, and then the outcomes and so on and so forth, and then Thambo will attend to a few generally. Thambo, where do we begin eating the cow from? From the ears, from the eyes? How do you wanted us to, to basically guide us? You get it? Jacob there, please.
Yes. Hello? Okay. Hello? Okay. So, thank you very much, Haji. In his absentia, I'll be addressing to you, and I hope we can sort it out. But I would begin by giving a disclaimer. I personally am a developer. I am not a teacher, but I also come from an architectural background. And so my input is going to be from the understanding that there are things that I know and then there are things I don't know, and then there are things I don't know that I don't know. Yeah? However, in our team, however, we do take pride in being inclusive in who we are working with. So for example, when we are developing this curriculum for the TVET, we have TVET instruction managers. They are instructors from the TVET that I hope that you saw them. We actually trained them from right here next door, the hub, where we trained them in instructional teaching using virtual reality and augmented reality. So we take on hand the hand of also training the trainers on how to use the technology. Because in the end, the teachers and the designers of these courses are the actual people that are going to understand how to implement this in the classroom, but also they are the ones who are going to guide the development of this content. Because where we are developing the content, we cannot develop it in a silo. We need to work hand in hand with teachers, and then also not just the teachers, but the curriculum developers. From your office, I will not mention his name, but we have a colleague from your office that we do partner on from the TVET perspective, and also from the low grade learners. So the content development in itself, the process should be ideally be informed by the syllabus itself and the hopes and dreams for the syllabus. Because let us acknowledge that the teachers are even if no matter how advanced technology is going to get, we are still going to need teachers. And if anyone is concerned that these technologies are going to replace teachers, it is an impossible task. Because in the end of the day, you still need a human to teach you how to do certain things. Much as these systems we are saying they are going to offer you the best AI system that is going to tell you do this, do that, do that. In the end, you're going to need a human to calm you down, and you'll be like, no, you're moving too fast. If you do this too fast, you're going to crash. When you rush, you crash. And so this leads me to the integration from the VR or AR training modules to the physical world. Now, this is where it is important for these institutions to foster and encourage partnerships, like our AR is specifying. The triple Ps, I will not say PPP, but I've said it anyway. By fostering private partnerships with these other partners, you are able to create linkages. For example, this facility that we showed you earlier for the motorcycle assembly, we actually partnered with Kira Motors. They said, okay, you know what? We need to train our workers on how to actually assemble these vehicles. So we are coming from an employable standing point and an employer standing point, where we're saying, okay, the employer wants a person who can fix this in the shortest time possible, but it takes so long to develop, to train this person in the real world. So how are you going to help us? So the employer has a desired outcome for their employees. They want to employ someone who actually understands how to do something. So you're not going to come from the perspective, I trained in VR on how to fix a vehicle so I can fix your car. No. We actually create linkages between the real world trainers, and we also create the virtual training scenarios and simulations to offer an in-between that you'll train in virtual reality so many times, fail, yes, you're successful. But then you also have an inclusion of physical world training where you're actually being tested on the level of competence you have on these systems. It is much faster to train that in that manner because you have a real world perspective and also a virtual perspective. And then the content itself, how do we generate the content? Now, that's the tricky thing. And as they are in their roadmap, they've been sharing, it is not an easy thing to develop for every curriculum out of the blue, because it is a step-by-step, very truncated process that will require you to have expertise from not just the developers, but from the trainers, from the instructional trainers, from even the laboratory managers. For example, I know for a fact that in her laboratory, Madame Flavia has to be part of everyone who is entering the laboratory. So actually, not because she wants to limit the people coming in, but she wants to know what is your goal in coming into this facility so that she can give you the resources you need. So generating content is a process where you identify the competencies that you need, identify who has this competence, and then you move on to how to generate this content. And in more times now, like AI has, I love the fact that they are already going in the right direction by including in their students, because you find that the students also generate their own content. Because if you're trying to teach them how to do something, for them they have already figured out, okay, but me, I want to use this path, so they'll develop something in that regard. So that helps you build on that content. So user-generated content is also part of the mechanism where you have to be conscious to include the people you're teaching to become the teachers. That's why I said, from our experiences in these schools, the teacher quickly becomes a student and the student quickly becomes a teacher. So there is very little we can do to separate the two. Then safety concerns.
Yes, briefly on that, Jacob. Yes, briefly on that.
Okay. Safety. I'm going to combine safety concerns with what responsible production. Yeah. So safety. We begin by understanding which device we are getting. You know, some devices have radioactive waves that they push out, especially our phones. I don't know if everyone knows that your phones emit radio waves, yeah? But even in the phone, when you're buying the phone, most people don't read it, but they tell you the level of and amount of radio waves that you're being exposed to. Similarly, the virtual reality headset also has its level rating that, yes, they're saying, okay, for this amount of time, you need to use it, and then take a break. So these are things that are combined. You're not going to find them, there's a textbook about it, but it's a decision you take in your procurement process. Yeah? You have to also even look at the end of life of a product, because there are the devices. I mean, just recently, iPhone launched iPhone 16. I don't know who will get that phone, but it is a new device, and now iPhone 10 has been kicked off. So now if you bought the iPhone 10 today, hoping you're going to use it, it quickly tells you that you're not doing enough research on what devices you're employing in your classes, because every device has an end of life, and you should be able to future-proof. We call it future-proofing. You buy a device that you know you're going to use for the next 5 years, and then in the disposal, which AR has touched on, I cannot go into the disposal of e-waste, but you have to actually understand how long you're going to use the device for. And lastly, responsible production is entirely going to become an initiative and a unequal responsibility for everyone involved. We cannot leave it to just UICT. We cannot just leave it to UCC. We cannot leave it to MTN. No, to Leica. I like Leica. They give cheaper internet. You cannot leave it to just those individuals. You have to also take in from the development perspective of these technologies. You have to be conscious enough to understand that this is a growing technology. You have to use it sparingly, but also pushing your limits to how much you can use. Because if you buy 1,000 headsets and you're going to spend a lot of money in buying 1,000 headsets, but you need to know, what are these 1,000 headsets going to help me do? Like I said, for example, in our classes, we separate classes into small groups. 60 people, break it down to 8 people per session. Because now you'll not only use 50 devices effectively, but also cautiously. So it's a responsible giving, and it is a user-centered engagement. You have to put the user first, and then identify how you're going to teach them. So Haji even mentioned it very clearly. You cannot put out just the student, but also a student and teacher. You also have to engage the instructional designers, which is where I talked about in my presentation, the involvement of arts and UI design, because art and UI design is how we are interacting with technology, because the UI is how you also pick up a pen and decide to start writing. So even us, in the development of the technology, we employed these designers, these instructional designers, to tell us, okay, if you put this UI here, it's going to make people overstretch their hand. You just make it a small tablet over here, and they can use it. So it is both physical, mental, and also technological involvement in developing these items. And it leads to a more responsible production and life cycle for the virtual reality classes. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Jacob. A round of applause for Jacob. He has really tried to bring out clearly. And lastly, Thabo here, because Mr. Tebakanya here mentioned a number, of guidelines. He mentioned the curriculum. He mentioned, let me be very open and specific. How did you do it in South Africa? How did you get in touch with the curriculum developers? How did you bring all the stakeholders on board such that you can move together? Okay? Because Haji here said that you mentioned that we have to eat the cow. How did you start eating this cow?
All right, thank you. I think one thing that we have to get very, very clear is that we are experts in technology and not really content, right? So in this process, we have different stakeholders in the project. We've got owners of content, right? Just like my gentleman here who works tirelessly on a regular basis to basically develop content, and our duty is to digitize content, So we don't come up with our own content that, literally flies off of the window, but everything needs to be kept within the standard, and we don't develop and I think Jacob can also attest to that. From a digital transformation strategy, we are, creators of technology, and then we convert whatever that exists as content, and then we create it into different use cases and simulations. And if you look at SA from a curriculum perspective, all our tools are based on approved curriculum, and as I said, we basically can be enterprising about it, but you don't create your own, you don't create your own content. And in this process, we'll be working very closely with instructional designers just to make sure that everything stays within standard. And then, as we go into implementation stage, then whatever that is going to be implemented will be whatever curriculum that's already been approved. So so in this technology space, we don't create in this space we don't create our own. We don't run in silos. We make sure that in developing solutions and technology, based on a technology, we include all different stakeholders that will play a key role in this process. So I think that's my answer.
Okay, that's a very good takeaway. The rapporteurs and the project manager, because at the end of the day, I saw a way forward, and I believe that's a very good way forward already, and that's the beginning point, okay? The stakeholders, and they mentioned something very important, that the content has to follow the curriculum, not the curriculum following the what? The content. I think that's very, very important for us to understand. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, one from USEP, and we close this. Our target is to be out of here by 2. USEP, yes, please. The microphone there, USEP. Yes, you take it to him, please.
Thank you. I think all the presenters and majorly UIC for this engagement. I think we're moving in the right direction as the country. starting right is key. I think that's why we are having these conversations. But my take on this is that I think even before we start, we need to come up with some kind of guidelines or policies or a framework into which each and every player is to fit in. We've talked of co-creation. Co-creation is key and it's the way to go, but it also brings in other gaps. Because there is an aspect of having authority in what the nation is to feed on, in line with the project that we have. We've called on several players, universities, called on so many other players, maybe content creators. But personally, I think as UICT championing this project, there's need to have a foundation. There's need to have something onto which other players can build on. I think Thabo talked of eating the cow, but would like to eat this cow, not starting with the horns or the hooves. And one way of doing that is by defining our direction, a clear direction. You know, when you look at the education system of the country, we have nursery, we have primary, we have secondary, we have tertiary institutions, we have universities. Now, if we call all these players at a go, now that will create another demand that we shall need to stretch ourselves, that we have a department focusing on universities. We have a department that is interested in the secondary schools, a department that is interested in the nursery schools. Because the more we stretch it, the more demands that will be pulled down on us. I'm of the view that if we could, for instance, have a well-focused level, for instance, that maybe if you're having secondary schools on board, can we pick interest in some credible teachers around the country that will probably have some kind of department, maybe in holidays or over the weekends, that will help us when it comes to having authority in the subject. That when you're releasing content for chemistry, we know that as UICT, we are speaking with authority, that this particular content serves or meets the purpose, so that we don't overstretch and at the end of it, we become strained. Then the other angle, I will request all the stakeholders in the house that let us try to be positive. You know, positivity moves us places. You know, if a project is brought and the only focus is on how it's going to not work out or fail, then you find that we don't even take a step. I'll give an example. When UNEB introduced online registration, I think very many people thought that this will not work out. But year in, year out, schools all over have registered using this particular platform. And lastly, I'm also requesting UICT that as we engage these stakeholders, let us have a direction. Let us have a direction such that we may not end up, I think, mixing up one or two or three things. Just we know that if we're engaging instruction developers of a particular level, we know that within this time frame, maybe we want to look at secondary schools. That's our major focus.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that submission. A wonderful one, and I think it is a way forward as well. Okay, just AR 1 minute. Your take from what has been presented, and then we go to the last item.
Moderator, I think from yesterday to now, you've made me say it almost all. I'll use the 1 minute to thank our stakeholders, and that when we called upon them and told them that we are interested in working with them, they responded. We started in the middle of the week yesterday to take off a Thursday, and a Friday is a big one. So I extend, UICT gratitude to all our stakeholders protocol observed. In that 1 minute, he has closed the business. We came to cast a roadmap in stone so that the scope for each part of the roadmap, the pillars are clear, and that is exactly what he's told us to do. So I'm wearing a smile of, let's produce the roadmap. If I can finish it off in the local one, to Silike. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for this team. This side, please you can go and take your seat. Side, thank you so much. Thank you, Jacob. And the last item is closely related to what we have been discussing. These are just guidelines. I don't know whether Naftali is back. You want to hear the question? These are just guidelines to content development, and I'm very sure they can be presented in the next 5 minutes. That's my assumption, because they are just what? Guidelines. Yeah. So I'll call Royal McGrady to do a presentation of these guidelines. Some guy to help us with the technology here. I don't know whether it's going to project. I go to project? Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. After the Q&A session, I realized that it's no longer a cow, it's an elephant. So I believe I'll have the answers to how do we eat this elephant bit by bit. My name is Larry Kosa. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Royal McGrady. I'm a programmer by core. And as you know, programmers are introverts. They don't talk much, so I won't take a lot of your time. Right? I'm just waiting for the slides to go up. Yeah, they're there. Here. But how come that one worked? How come Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so my presentation is called Content Creation Roadmap Focusing on ET. So the takeaways will be why, who, how, and when. This is basically what we'll get after this presentation. The introduction basically is, so this content delivery roadmap outlines strategic phased approach to building Uganda's ICT educational capacity over the next 3 years. Through collaborative efforts between UICT and Royal McGrady, this plan is to implement UICT Learn, VR learning experiences, align coursework, and industry certifications. So focused on empowering students, teachers, and young learners, this roadmap provides Uganda with essential tools to become technology and innovation leaders in the region. So our pedagogical approach will be project-based learning. So as you know, we've got, we need more skills. We've got a lot of masters of theory. So this approach will help us, it'll help us blend skills and theory. Collaboration, so these are the stakeholders involved. So Royal McGrady will bring the expertise in e-learning. So basically the technology. So Royal McGrady will come through with the technology. UICT will develop practical real-world content that aligns with Uganda's workforce needs. So this is basically the content that we were talking about that is aligned. And then the NCDC, and then the NCDC will be in charge of the accreditations, right? And then preps for the future. So this is who we are planning to impact. Student impact, provide easy access and engaging self-paced digital learning to the student. Teacher support, train teachers on using technology for content delivery and course management. And then the last, early childhood development. I mean, as much as we are sitting here, we might be the decision makers for this technology, but we're not the actual consumers of it. You know, so I think one thing about this session today, the question that I want to ask is that, do we want to leave here as the people who didn't make this available for the next generation? You know, so I think that's one question I would like to ask. But then with that being said, the importance of teacher and lecturer skilling in ICT and VR. I mean, number one is increased confidence. Look, if you understand the technology, you'll flourish in class, you know. Number two, adaptability to new tech. Technology grows every week. Every week there's a new update of this, there's a new update of, in the VR says, there's a new update of software. So you stay up to date with the new tech, sustainable skill building. You are able to stay in class longer because you are skilled with all this technology and VR. So the key ICT skills needed to sustain and elevate the use of technology. So these are basically the courses that are suggested. So these are the courses that will make sure that UICT and the community of Uganda is up to scratch with technology. So we've got extended reality, networking and cybersecurity, programming, software dev, data science, big data, cloud computing, virtualization, AI, machine learning, IoT, and smart technologies. So the IoT and smart technologies will basically answer the question of how do we access all of this without connectivity? How do we access all of this, you know, without the equipment? So I believe this would be a great course for the community. All right, and then with all of those, so aligning all of those courses to OEM standard certifications. So by OEM standard certifications, I'm talking about your Cisco's, your Microsoft's, your Microsoft's, and. So there's a lot of these certifications that are aligned to ICT. So you would know if you did computer science back in 2010 and you haven't upskilled yourself until now, you know that it's irrelevant in industry. What you've learned in 2010 has grew 20 times now, you know. So with these certifications, these allow you to become either a professional or an expert in what you do, or you can just use them to upskill yourself so you stay relevant within the industry. So you're forever employable, you're forever knowledgeable in this space, right? And then let's get to the elephant, since it's no longer a cow. So This is a phase one, 36 months, 3 years. So how are we planning on implementing all of this? Year one is building the foundation, right? So UICT Learn, rollout, and onboarding. So as you've seen, the technology is already there, it's developed. So we just need to develop it with UICT, the community, and deploy. User training, users will be on this, which is the teachers, the lecturers, the students will get training on this rigorously. Early access for pilots, obviously we need to run a pilot in the first year to see how the community, the school responds to this technology. The second part will be initial content creation, which is foundational ICT modules. So now we're building foundational ICT modules to help understand the technology. So instead of just giving you the technology, so now we are teaching you how to use the technology. So in future, you can maintain and build this technology. Teacher-specific content, that's what we build next. Early childhood introduction. So curating ICT courses that will be relevant in preschool, be relevant in the foundation phase of our kids, because they are the consumers of this content at the end of the day. Whether we like it or not, they will be exposed to VR, they will be exposed to smartphones, they will be exposed to all of this technology that's going to emerge. The third is teacher training and support, constant workshops. Year one, constant workshops, teachers in one room, you know, teaching them about this platform, teaching them about this technology, and then ongoing support. So there will be support throughout all of this. That is year one. Year two, enhancing interactivity and integrating VR. So VR hands-on learning. So now, because in year one, we understand the technology, we understand the system, we understand how everything will move. In year two, what we are doing is now we are integrating the virtual reality aspect of things in courses. So now we're bringing the virtual reality in the curriculum. We're bringing immersive experiences in the curriculum. So, and then number two, develop interactive and advanced content. So outside of just virtual reality, I mean, if you look at a system like UICT, it's broad, it's vast, it allows a lot of technologies. We can embed videos, we can embed, it has quizzes, we can embed anything, even third-party softwares like things like HP5 for interactivity. So if you need people to interact more, either it's a model or a module, we can add that. That's what we're doing in year two. And then the third one will be teacher training for VR and project-based learning. So now we'll have extensive advanced webinars, extensive advanced workshops, you know, having teachers and lecturers who are part of this program in one room again, you know. And then Tabo yesterday mentioned that the platform also has a Facebook-like feature. So that Facebook-like feature will be for subscribers of the platform, people who are within that platform, so you can interact on the platform. So you can ask questions. It's just like social media, but it's social media that is very educational, that is on a platform that is educational. Also, it allows people to assist each other when working on maybe assignments, when we're working on, just a lot. So you can create your own group of people, you can create a group of friends. Some might be in remote areas, but you guys will connect on that system. And then with year three will be certification pathways and industry alignment. So this is where we now bring in the OEM specific content. So in those courses I've mentioned earlier, as we build them, so the instructional design needs to be aligned to OEM certification. So it's not a struggle when you have moved from networking to Cisco CCNA. It's something that is aligned, you understand it, because this is what industry needs. This is the industry standard. You need a professional certification for you to progress in ICT internationally, irregardless of where you are. You know, so, and then continuous improvement. As you can see, the icon goes up, the trajectory is upwards, so we are not plateauing, it's always going up, right? And then with that being said, that's the end of my presentation. I'd just like to leave you with a quote. If we teach today as we taught yesterday, we rob our children of tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, another round of applause. Still very clear and crispy. I think this is very, very important for us as UICT. Okay, we have a lot to learn from this, and by now I think we are good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, like I promised, our target is to be out of this place by 2. And we are serious about that. I want to thank each and every person who has participated, first of all, before I get clap for yourself. This is very, 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 very important. The last item was a way forward, and we are going to do it like this. Each stakeholder is going to, because some of the way forwards we have been capturing, for example, in these presentations, I've seen a couple of way forwards, and that's for our rapporteurs to pick. Okay, but I'm going to give the students, one student, what they think is the way forward. 2 students. Okay, I'm going to give doctor here, Dr. Golova, what does he think is the way forward. I want to give Mr. Tebakana from National Council, from the NCDC, what does he think is the way forward. I'm going to give this gentleman from the enterprise part. Okay, what does he think should be our way forward? Our faculty members, I'll pick 2. And I'll start with the Naftali. Naftali, you went out. You are supposed to ask a question. So one of it, you are going to ask the question. The other one is, what is your way forward? Then Continam, what is our forward? Then Jacob, Iwal, what is our way forward? Then Wusep, one word. What do you think is our, if you feel it has been captured, that's what? That's okay. Magrade, what's our forward? And then we shall crown it up by the AR saying thank you. The AR will just say thank you, and then we shall close it. Okay, I'll begin with the students. Very briefly, what do you think, how should we move? What is our way forward? Only 2 students, a male and a female, in the interest of time. A male and a female. There's a, the male has already been taken, the male slot, so okay. Just the way forward, yes?
Thank you very much. According to me, the way forward here, to get majorly very good teams of students, as they have said.
Pardon? To get what?
Very good teams. Students working in teams, it will be too hard to find students going as individuals or working individually on those projects. So if students can work in groups of, let's say, maybe 10 or 15 at a time, at a particular time, and then others also come in, it will be helpful to us. Then the other thing is also design specific times for maybe say practicals and theories. Then also like identifying the students' powers. One student may be good in content creating, the other one may be good also in like presenting, and you find that team is very well balanced. Also create a very big impact on this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A female student? A female student? We don't have a female student. You may not be from UICT. You don't have to be necessarily from UICT. We don't have female. Oh, okay. You bring to this gentleman, and because there are no The AR is itching. I think she wants to enroll for a course now, and she represents the. Okay, just 1 minute. We don't. Time is not on our side.
Well, my name is Aiswe Anthony.
Yes.
Student at UICT, taking ITB. According to my own perspective, I think we can put some prizes so that can boost the students so that they can be able to participate in this UICT program. Then again, I think this UICT is the only institution that is specifically specified in ICT teaching. Maybe we can introduce this one at district level or regional level. Make sure that we get more of the youth, more of the student, so that all of them they can engage. And then this one can as well be extended at all institutions, so that each and every institution is engaged in this thing as it is helpful. As all of us, we are looking forward to staying in digital world.
Thank you.
I think I submit.
Thank you, thank you. Extend it to Mr. Naftali first. I'll need 2 members of the faculty, Naftali and another member.
Thank you so much.
Our microphone is not so clear. Where is the other one?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I went a question, but integrate it like in the way forward.
Yes.
As we think of this project, or as a project of being a national project, then we should think of people out there, because I see program is going to cover many aspects of life. Going to cover industrial, education, and even entertainment. So on the part of education, I would love to see that they consider those unprivileged schools or students whom we want this technology to reach, because not that everyone really privileged like for us who are near here, especially when you come to tools. Project here to work even as instructors, we come to an extent that we need more advanced tools than we have to deal with this project, because it needs faster running machines, of which they are expensive. So we would think of catering or finding a way that those people who cannot access these high-end tools are also provided, and also making sure that we partner with the service providers who deal in connections. For example, Renault, we can MTN, so that it reaches those schools for those people to stay connected, because most of it is going to be online. So that's my way forward.
Thank you so much. Another faculty member there interested in giving a way forward. Maybe you can give to Flavia there. Yes, because it's raising a very important issue of tools and so on and so forth. So, I mean, how do we move away from that mindset? Because the issue is, everybody thinks that you should have a headset. Everybody thinks that you get it. So, how do we move away from that? Yes.
I apologize. Kind of up and down. Was asked about tools, equipment. So depending on your approach, are you a user? Are you a developer? That will define what kind of tool you interact with technology. So if you're a user, there are so many, almost all the gadgets that we currently can support the technology. You can use your smartphone, you can use your laptop in case you have one. You can also use the virtual reality headset. So it comes to the question of cost and maybe what kind of interactive experience you can have. So all those different equipments can support the technology in terms of usage, but the experience that you have with those different equipment varies. Okay? So did you require a way forward or to answer his best?
The way forward.
So my way forward would be for us to appreciate the technology here with us. Challenges will always come up, but let's address them, find a way to overcome the challenges, find the right people that would be able to address your particular challenge, but let us not allow it to drag us or stop us from moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's up there? 1 minute. If you already submitted the way forward, you can just say submitted already.
Thank you. One, first of all, clearly defining our strategic focus while defining rules of engagement for the various stakeholders to bring in some aspect of accountability. Then the second one is probably having some department still for accountability purposes. And lastly, I strongly believe we shouldn't swallow this elephant. Let us try to eat it bit by bit by defining which areas should we start with in the education sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But you said we shouldn't start with the horns. So okay, you bring it here. From the enterprise bit, what do you think is the way forward? And then Ewal, they will tell us something.
Thank you so much. I'm from the hospitality industry. I think I've gained a lot from these 2 days. So that means the first way forward would actually be creating something like this that is strictly for the people in the business. And one to look at how to use tools, also especially for their customers, enhancing that experiential experience, especially for the tourism industry. I would think you need to do something with UTB. When you go to the internet, including their website, you get ashamed that we actually don't have something that is nearer to what we've been talking about, including what they are running on CNN. It just means we have that thing that we need to do. The other is actually exploring more opportunities for business. If we have the business people around, then we'll find that we have more opportunities for our young people who are practicing this, or we can pick them up and work with them. The other is also focusing on the small tools that we can use in our businesses. What do I need, for example, at my lodge? Have tours done at my lodge without people moving, and maybe they stay a day or two without moving away from our place. So I think some of those things we need to look into them. But maybe the conclusion is that it's been a wonderful 2 days. I would wish to come again.
Thank you. Can give to Jacob there. Here. Jacob is here. Jacob, okay, you want to start with Continum? No, let us start with, I'll come to Continum. Mr. Samachimba will talk on behalf of Continum?
No, I'm not from Continum, I'm McGrady.
Sorry, Mr. Samachimba is from McGrady. So I'll come to McGrady later on. Yes.
Good afternoon once again. So I would begin by saying it's Wally.
Yes.
Iwal.
Yes.
So way forward, I think Thank you very much for UICT for the great strides you've made. Honestly, this is the very first institution doing this. And I come from a background of where all our partners have been foreign. So honestly, from the industry perspective, you are the first Ugandan entity doing this. And I think the way forward is to be intentional, to move forward from the perspective of being just consumers of consuming outside products, but also propelling your own content production, especially utilizing the students that you have on hand, very good talents that I've seen even outside, the people enjoying the VR outside. So way forwards is hackathons. Hackathons is a very good, empowering thing because almost everyone is actually asking about hackathons, this and that, how to engage. So I think hackathons would be a very good step for UICT to get into the talents that are lacking around your staff, your students, and even people outside with rewards, and then, but also it will be very important to also put in a roadmap to and how people can access engagement on your roadmap. You have a roadmap on 5 years, but then how do people come and inject into your roadmap assignment? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you come and take it to Dr. Golo over here, please?
Hello, you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, UICT, this initiative. As a way forward, still the keyword is stakeholder engagement. I like the way you did it because I think it's a Ugandan way of doing it. In business, they say us academicians we are poor because we think too much and we waste a lot of time planning and thinking and reasoning. But businessmen just start and learn on the way, the hard way. The way you did it is the same way National Council, NCDC, rolled out the competence-based curriculum. They just dropped it there like, wow. Now we have been fidgeting, I've been working with groups of people asking now. We have the competence-based curriculum being taught by teachers who were taught in a different way. So they don't really know how to teach the competence-based curriculum. Now, how do we do it? So I think the NCDC started eating the cow, started with the intestines. So we thought, actually, we mapped out programs with my colleagues, now on pedagogical issues and retraining the trainers. So we're asking, was this supposed to start with the universities that train teachers, so that we first prepare the teachers before we roll out the program? For them, they just rolled it out. I don't know how it is working. Evaluations are going on. We're also doing our independent research to see how effective it has been. But what we are doing as we firefight, we are working around the clock to see that we start programs at university level to retrain those ones in service, the teachers in service. We find programs for them. And then those ones, in service, and then we have the pre-service. Those ones we're training, we're admitting. How we can change our curriculums, speak to that as soon as possible. Now that is on the curriculum side. That's how they did it. From a technology side, ICT people here just said, and now we have the tool to speak to the same. How this tool should be rolled out is another thing altogether. Should we start by implementing these tools at the training institutions, the universities, and train, first of all, the lecturers who train the teachers, then train those teachers in classroom right now, and then find a way of training the teachers that are already in service? So there's a lot of detail there, but what I can is, this is a wonderful thing. All we need to do in a phased manner is to engage the different key stakeholders within these spaces. I'm calling it phased manner because at a higher level, we may start engaging National Curriculum Development Center, National Council for Higher Education, like you did here, but in a more, not like in a presentation mode, like it's been, but getting to work out a framework. Then we shall see how we reach the districts, the last person at the village. We don't have to worry that some schools, there's a digital divide. He used that keyword, digital divide. We are talking about mixed things about teaching, but we are living in a mixed model, so our communities are like that. So we don't have to wait until we have electricity everywhere, that we have internet everywhere. We have to start, okay? We have to start. So that's what I can say. The keyword is stakeholder engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Speaker, please take it to Chambogo. Dr. Namlondo, Dr. Lima, do you have a way forward for us? In one sentence, is there any way forward for us? Please take it to him, and then you'll take it to Continum. Tony, are you around for Continum? Anybody represent Continum? You take it to Chambogo.
Thank you. Way forward.
Yes.
Project is here to stay.
Yes.
However much wind around, stay. We need to find ways of how we are going to.
Okay.
2, we need to, the groups we are starting to work with first, that help us to cascade these technologies down to the grassroots. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Continum group, I don't see them. I take there to McGrady. Mrs. Matimba there.
Thank you so
Edison?
much.
Edison, is he around? Please try to get the project manager. We want to close this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Facilitator. I think I'd like to thank everybody, the comments and interest in the subject. They have all been noted. We've been taking notes. I think for me, for us, for the way forward, in light of what has already been done, because a lot of work that has already been done, is to create a roadmap, literally combine all the good work and the good ideas, create a roadmap. The roadmap is going to enable us to eat the elephant in a bit by bit. You understand what I'm saying? Because this thing can be very expensive, it can be very daunting, and it can be very confusing at the same time. Sure. So in our view, the roadmap will encompass things like the use cases, all right? What are the most important ones? What are the things that are going to enable us to have the quick wins so that the project can have credibility? Because 6 months from now, we want to be able to say we landed this and that and that. So we need to be able to say these are the use cases we've identified. And of course, people will say, but what about this other one? And then say, yeah, we're doing that one in phase 3, phase 4, but we're already aware of it. So the first thing is the use cases. Then I think somebody spoke about stakeholder engagement. We need to understand who the stakeholders are going to be impacted. So that should be part of the roadmap. And as I said, we need to focus on the quick wins. The roadmap must also encompass the technology aspects, because this is not a cheap thing. We need to make sure that we have the right technology at the right time. We don't want to buy expensive things too early. We want to buy the right technology at the right time, that we don't spend money too early for no good reason. Very, very importantly, the roadmap must people change management. So the people change management, part of the stakeholder management, we need to understand how we're going to sell this project, how we're going to make sure that we have the right message to all the various stakeholders. So when do we contact the stakeholders? How do we give them? Then in each of those business different phases, we need to make sure that we have business cases. So step 1 maybe can fund step 2 and 3. The benefits of step 2 and 3 maybe can fund step 4, kind of stuff. And then as we're also doing the business cases for steps, I think we also need to make sure there's monitoring and evaluation. How do we make sure that step 1 has been successful? Then last but not least, we need to make sure that we have the right governance, make sure that the right people are involved at the right time, and there's proper buy-in from the big boys. Because if you don't have buy-in from the top, this project is going to be an absolute failure. So in my view, the roadmap
learning. We need to integrate in very many other technologies. So the trainings will not only be on AVR, they will go beyond this, including ML, machine learning, that are so important for these technologies to work and achieve their goals. They themselves may never achieve the goals. I suppose.
Thank you so much, Sateba Kanyadea. I hope our rapporteuring team is capturing each and every aspect that is being submitted here. Yes, the project manager is there. The project manager, the different stakeholders are submitting in the way forward, and we really appreciate them. Okay, we appreciate them for now, and we are only waiting for you because you are our boss here. We are only waiting for your way forward, and then later you invite the AR to say thank you, and then we shall proceed.
Thank you so much, MC. I want to thank and congratulate everyone here. You have managed to work with us the journey right from yesterday, from the launch up to the closure. I want to thank you so much for that unwavering support, but also the passion that you have for this project. I can actually read it from you people's faces. I want to actually continue to ask for your support as we go through this journey, as we implement it here internally, but also rolling it out to the outside stakeholders outside of Uganda, to the East African region. And hopefully we shall also extend it beyond East Africa to the outside world. My way forward is that let's work together. Let's harmonize our work plans from our project management consultant together with Mark Grade, Editech, so that we can have a one working roadmap as we implement this project to ensure its success. I submit.
So much, Eddie. We also want to thank you for spearheading this, for guiding us here and there, and more so for inviting our friends from South Africa, Magrade. We have enjoyed your stay here. And I think we are still enjoying. We may not even go for a virtual tour, may go for a physical tour, such that you may see other parts of Kampala and Uganda. So I want to invite the academic registrar, I think on behalf of management, to say thank you. And then thereafter, like we have been organizing, our invited guests will have their meals up, and our dear students, you will be guided on how you are going to have your meals. Thank you. AR.
Thank you, moderator. I think all other thank yous have been said. All protocol observed. So I will send the thank you to, on behalf of management, the academic board, the governing council, UCC who operates and manages us, the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, and more importantly, the Ministry of Education, our steer for this project. I would like to extend a big thank you to the organizing committee of this workshop. Mr. Nkurununji, it would be important after this to detail out who that organizing committee is, but above the project manager, allow me to recognize the overseer of this project, Dr. Irene Nachimba, the deputy principal of UICT. Unfortunately, she's not been able to be with us for the 2 days. Mr. Nkurununji, please record this and send this over to her. A big, big thank you from the nation. and tell her, as a result of her efforts, tumetoka, tusimbude. It's time for AR VR in STEMI education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope all of us have registered. The next engagement may be virtual, online. So I hope all of us have registered our emails, our names, and so on and so forth. So because we are going to engage, like Dr. guided, and our next engagements might be virtual. So it's very, very important that you do that. I want to thank each and every person once again. Thank you, Jenny Masses. We wish you well and hope to see you or even hear from you very, very soon. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Please help us guide our guests to the dining. Help us guide our guests to the dining. Besides on, please let us move with some of our invited guests up. For the students, we are going to have our lunch from our usual place. Okay? Thank you so much, students. This is your project. Next time when you are called upon, please don't hesitate to participate. Thank you so, so much.
loving you, still be wanting you. Even if I'm paralyzed, I'm not gonna leave your side, you're still my baby. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And even if I lose my sight, I'm feeling for you every night, you're still my baby. You tell me everything and everything you're giving me, I always keep it inside. Everything. And when your mother or your father them forsake me, you never leave my side. And when your friends tell you bad things about me, you never yet walk away. And when some other brother whistling at your ears drum, you never hear what they say. That's why when the world comes crashing on my shoulders, still be loving you, still be wanting you. And when the storm comes with winds that blows me over, still be loving you, still be wanting you. Even if I'm paralyzed, I'm not gonna leave your side, you're still my baby.
Gonna break these chains around me. Gonna learn to fly again. Maybe hard, but I'll do it. When I'm back on my feet,